Kyle here from All Media Reviews. Here to do, as I mentioned in the pneumatic transit review for Forbidden Trinkets, what I want to do is a new series. It might be something that I'll do 50 times over the course of 2024. I don't know. Because if you just look at my history, I talked about upcoming releases frequently over the last 3, 4 years, especially. I mean, it goes back further. It goes back to it started in the blog, of course. That was the whole. I transition. Just started doing new album coming out with the date and everything. And I hope the mic isn't too hot. I'm trying to avoid the clipping I've had on some of the other recordings with this headset and the microphone. So, so yeah, what I'm gonna do is, I guess it would. This is the new release calendar and anticipation and news, I guess you could say. I'm riffing a little bit off of what Nathan Unshuffle's done with his prog news weekly, I suppose. Yeah, although yeah, I guess technically I was doing that some of that stuff before that show even started. He did, but yeah, it's kind of similar, but it's going to be kind of arbitrary how often it could be frequently, it could be a lot more frequently potentially, or it could be I don't know. It's really as it's come to learn, news about new releases go through phases where you'll get a lot of news and then you don't get that much news for a while. So so I'll just do is go over this is 2024 releases that are on the calendar, and I've got two lists here. This is the Dream Theater forums, and then there's this. This is from the Images and Words Discord, which friend Christian Frantic Dav he helped him among many others help maintain. They have two separate calendars and lists. One's for prog rock or just rock music, and one's for prog metal, or I would guess mostly just metal. Um, but and I'll full disclosure, a lot of this stuff that's on these calendars, it's not on my interest. It's not my awareness or interest. I have enough stuff to worry about that I like, but people that are watching this might want to, but it'd be not. It's fine. I'll pass these links along. I guess that's one thing I can do. But I'm not. I'm going to be talking about necessarily Caligula's horse or uh, necessarily Big Train because I'm just not a fan of them that much. So, all right. So this is the calendar stuff. So January. It's kind of a light. This is the list. Kind of a light start for me. Amanda Palmer's New Zealand survival songs on January 11th, right here, is the one early release that I know of. These other ones I don't know, of course. Moving down, okay, Neil Moore's, that's not for me, but some people are going to be interested in the Restoration Joseph Part 2. Um, Keep on going down the list here. These are the dates. That's the date. And of course, the months above that. People like Saxon, they have a record coming out on the 19th. There's Caligula's Horse, Charcoal Grace. Rhyme Signatures just mentioned that in his anticipated video, of course. And congratulations to him on getting 1,000 subscribers. I'm not surprised. I knew from the get-go when I saw his channel he would be one that would succeed and be able to attract a lot of people. And it only took him a couple of years. Um, these No Man releases, I'm a very small No Man fan, as much as I like Tim Bonus and Steven Wilson, of course. Some people are going to be more interested in those, but so there's the album I reviewed yesterday. It's the 26th of January, Forbidden Trinkets. So as it looks right now for January, there's really not a lot on my particular plate. The pneumatic transit is the biggest one. So just by comparison, because these lists aren't identical, I'll just look at the Images and Words Discord calendar. If there's anything else, I think this is more consolidated actually. There's pneumatic transit. No, so they have Kairos Mannequin. That's one I'm definitely going to listen to. But let's just go to the other side. That was the rock calendar, and then the metal calendar. It really should be nice if it could be consolidated into one, but no, there's just not. There's a lot of stuff, but not anything. I mean, something in here may catch my attention later that I don't know about, of course. Um, but there's just not a lot. Artillery, I know that band, but that's in February. I don't know why it's in all caps, but so let's go back to the Dream Theater forums. So looking at February, so yeah, Artillery. But Kairos' Mannequin, I'm interested in. Christian loves them. I know some other people, Nathan Shuffle, and some people really like Kairos, so I'm gonna check that out. I've liked some of the songs. I've just never fully gotten into them, but it's like prog channeling '80s pop in a sense, kind of very keyboard driven. So then Persephone's Lingua Ignata or Noto Part One. Um, I liked their last album. I don't remember the name of it. It was like called Andorra. They're from Andorra. I forget. But I remember it was a little long. I think it was from 2021. It was a little long, and sometimes with even the metal, the extreme metal or progressive metal with extreme, it can get a bit excessive to me. But there's a couple records in their history I really like, so I'm curious about that. Pineapple Thief again. I would like them, but they and I one of their songs, the world I whatever only knew of or whatever it's called. But I know Gavin Harrison, of course, plays with them now. But that I'm not gonna. But the week after, on the 16th of February, is Adult Contemporary from Chromeo. Um, they're like sort of an electronic soul pop funk band. My wife loves them. People that like Mayor Hawthorne or like I was kind of think of them a little bit of like as a modern day Cool in the Gang, although that's it's only vague. But yeah, I mean they put out some music since COVID, but I think this is the first full length since before COVID. So they had that EP that talked about needing Clorox wipes and stuff like that. It was I think the name of the EP was like Lockdown something or COVID something. It was funny. Um, but let's see. Einar Solberg from Leprous. He's got one on the 16th also. Steve Hackett. He's got so many albums, and I like some of his albums, like besides Voyage of the Acolyte. What is it? Spectral Mornings, stuff like that. There was an album about, I don't know, like 15 years ago I kind of like from him. This is a concept album. I'm curious, but I may have to give this one a go. Isan, the self titled. I don't like blast beats. I've kind of developed an aversion to blast beats, but I do like the first Isan album after. I know people have really loved some of his recent records though, so I don't know. Depending on the time, I may check it out. I know there's gonna be two versions of it. One that's more like raw and more like purely like orchestral. Kimono, that band from my town, has another record coming out. Very yes, like Mind Out of Mind, the same day. So the 16th, there's a whole bunch of records expected. Um, but the Chromeo one's probably the one I'm most curious about still. The Aristocrats, Duck. I don't love them. I don't hate them. I saw them live. It was interesting. Brian Beller had a relationship with Kevin Gilbert. I believe he was part of the Stanley Snail Siberian Khatru cover. If I'm correct, not correct. Um, let's see. So that's moving on. The rest of February. Borknagar's Fall. Yeah. Job for a Cowboy is a band I liked briefly. I think I even have one of their CDs, Moon Healer. But I don't know. Again, it depends on if I'm in the mood for metal. They'd be one. They're, I believe, a tech death band that I first got into extreme metal. They were one of the better bands. I think I saw them live once with a bunch of other bands, like the Faceless. So, Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum is another one where I should like them, and I saw, like I mentioned, I saw them live with Bubble Math. That I may again, given the time, I may have to take the plunge on them, but then just a few. That's on the 23rd. So then on the 29th of February, Leap Day. That's when the other really big release, probably the biggest anticipated early release for me. Derpa Robbins' Firebird. Massive fan. It's been well documented. Been since it was 2018. It was after Ravenlock's Act 3 came out, and yeah, I mean they kind of can't do. They have not done any wrong. It doesn't mean they couldn't do wrong, I suppose, but they're such perfectionists, and they have just such a style that fits my taste. That theatrical, almost. Rhyme Signatures mentioned he thinks they have a very vaudevillian, and a lot of music does. But I know the songs on the Prelude to Firebird EP were more '80s sounding. So but very, very excited about that. Whenever we get the Deer Hunter record, that's going to have to tide some of us, the Deer Hunter fans, over who want this sort of chamber conceptual rock stuff. Yeah, because their last record was excellent. Queen of the Night, as retro as it was, and then their previous record, um, was my album of the year. As much as I have some sentimental concerns about listening to it because it was around the time my dog was put down. But uh, Why am I spacing on the name of it? Um, with Skywriter, Dead Horse, Dead Horse. So both, I mean, and all the Raven Locks albums, it's just they have a very impressive track record, and so you know, we'll see. I guess we'll see on on Leap Day finally. So then we get into March, and the biggest release is literally the day after. So we're gonna get Dirt Poor Robins and Everything back to back. That Mountainhead record, and wonder what day that is because it's interesting how they're not on the same date. Leap Day's a Thursday, and March 1st is a Friday. So yeah, that's basically the same week. We're gonna get Everything, and Dirt Poor Robins that Friday. Listening to both those records probably around the same time. The rest of this list, I know the Mandrake Project was mentioned. It's a big, big train from Bruce Dickinson Mandrake Project. It's gonna be kind of different than his normal stuff, I guess. And then Judas Priest, Jacob Collier is a shredder. Um, yeah, not. I mean, this will change, and that's the whole point of doing these videos. So this is obviously not a complete calendar. What's going to be announced in the coming weeks? Sheryl Crow and Lenny Kravitz. The jury's kind of out on those two, but Lenny Kravitz, I'll have to listen to. My wife really likes him. I do like some of his stuff. His last record wasn't so great though, but I'm curious. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. I have a distinct memory of going to the laundrette with my wife talking about it after we'd listened to some of it. But and then April, we got to get to April with In Vain Solemn, the progressive black and death metal band that I has put out 4 records. Their last record, Currents, was good, but not the most memorable. I probably should go back to it. But the previous record, Enigma, and the debut, Latter Rain, are like sort of A to A plus, extreme metal, progressive extreme metal albums for me. So they're one of my favorites. Different vocal styles of shrieks and death metal and clean vocals, and they use some samples sometimes. I love In Vain. They're from Norway, I believe. In Norway, or I always get Norway and Holland. That's unfair. That mixed up. I think they're from Norway, but so, so now moving on to what confirmed titles, as I've got this list here. John Anderson's The Song of Zamran, Sons of Elias. It would be a big deal if it comes out. He's had so many projects that want to. It's like it's supposed to be sort of a sequel to Elias of Sun Hills. So, but who knows? He just put out an EP, a Christmas EP of like 20 minutes, and I listened to like half of it. I should have listened to more of it. The Deer Hunters Sunya has been talked about a lot, and if it the moment we get some information, I'm thinking probably at the beginning of the year, within the first few weeks, we'll probably get some more information. He said at the show back in October that it was expected early, so that could mean like May or something like that, or even later. I don't know, but it will be a big deal no matter what because there's the established fan base and interest among prog folks and just the fan base themselves. So, DK the drummer, that's Darren King of formerly of Mute Math. Lockers Volume 1. That's been mentioned a few different times. I also read he's got a duo or some band he's in. He did work with his wife on the Sucre record from last year, but I know he's released singles and they're on Spotify. It's kind of like drum and bass, kind of hip hop in some ways, but I mean, I don't know if it's going to be anything like Mute Math, but he's just a fantastic drummer. Joey Eppard, thank you, or the you used to know. Of 3, of course. I got a download that's downstairs, a download card for one of his songs. I got the new T-shirt. I hope it comes out. Although he mentioned, I asked him about it. He said something about it was like a thing that's supposed to be for Patreon. So I don't know. But if it does come out, I'll be looking forward to it. Want to check it out for sure. Falling Up presents the Chilling Alpine Adventure. Their comeback album from Falling Up. Jesse Raborti, of course, of the River Empires. Um, I I know the Falling Out fan base. I follow them. I am connected with their Discord channel and on Instagram and Facebook. It will be a really big deal if this when this comes out for those people. I like pretty much every Fallen Up record of the last 10 years to different degrees. So I don't know. It could be a sleeper. I might just go crazy for it. The last album, the self-titled album, was more. It was less heavy and more acoustic, but not too acoustic. It was more melodic. But I'll admit that I haven't gone back to it. It was in my top 10 records the year it came out, but remember it came out toward the end of the year. Then he put out a solo record a couple years ago. So looking forward to it, but I'm not expecting massive things. If we do get at some point the River Empires, which has now been talked a little bit about, that is a massive thing. But anyway, Hawkwind, stories from the from time and space, Frost's life in the wires. Um, I don't know if I'll even get around to Janet Jackson's Black Diamond. If something's good on this, my wife will be playing it. I'll be probably sucked into listening to it. And I do like some Janet Jackson. Saw her live, a number of months ago over the was it the fall or late summer? I think it was summer. Yeah, King Crow. Clint 1918's Amore. Well, their last record, which was like 7 years ago, was a huge disappointment for me. I bought the whole book thing, Sentimental Jugend. It was way more noisy than I would anticipate. I love the record, the first two records especially. Dopo Guerra is the one. The third record, a lot of people love, just in case we never meet again, soundtrack for the cassette generation. But I think there's been enough time has passed. I think it could be a little bit like the Code 7 thing where something new, even though they never broke up, this could be good. But I don't know, they're perfectionists. I'll give them that much. So, Paul Meany's motivational speaker was supposed to come out in 2023 and did not. Paul Meany of Mute Math. The samples, there was like one song or samples sounded really good. Of course, it's he's not doing Mute Math, so it's his next thing. I mean, I hope it comes out. I think it probably will, given he had these videos showing him making it. But I'm optimistic. I'm not like super like high expectations, but I'm optimistic. First of all, if it even comes out, but second of all, what it will be like. More on Police Pachinko. Rhyme Signatures mentioned this in his video too, and a lot of people have talked about it. We talked about it in the round table. It'll be a double album. It's supposed to be a double album because there's a lot of music. The with the replacement drummer that Thor, the late drummer from More on Police, was a fan of, I believe. So yeah, I mean, Boat on the Sea, people loved. The prog scene adored that record. I am kind of like I am a fan. I'm friends with Sandra, who's also in Major Parkinson, and but I didn't go get as obsessed with it as much as some people. I liked it, so I guess I'm kind of at a hopeful, but not. I mean, I'm not. Maybe it'll surprise me how good it is. Boat on the Sea was a great record. I just people made it. A lot of people had it their album of the year. Surprisingly, I couldn't believe how many people loved it. So, I think it's going to be a big buzz at the point it comes out. A little bit like, not to the same degree, but a little bit like the way that the new Moon Safari record was the last few months. Fido's Automoto Animus. It was potentially going to come out this fall or November. So I don't know. I mean, again, he's got a day job, Fido Xavier. He does Hollywood, does music for Hollywood and stuff like that. So I guess the question, this will probably come out more than likely than if the new Self album comes out. But I will listen to it. I like Doomsday Afternoon. I've never gotten fully into Fido. I like his music. But anyway, now one that I am really excited for is Brian Scary, and this is the one of two albums, The House That Time Forgot. That's going to be a really big deal for me. Maybe I'm putting too high of expectations on it, but I follow him on Twitter. He actually is really active. So, then you have Thrice's album Horizons West, which I know Brennan had mentioned in the round table at the end of the round table, and people love Thrice. A friend of mine named Nate was really big into Thrice. That will be a big deal if it comes out. I know they put out other records the last few years, so I don't know if this hasn't been buzzed about. So then there's the likely or possibly likely Agent Fresco. I didn't maybe try to make 2024 the year to try to get more into them. I don't hate them. There's moments in the music I kind of like, but I've never for seemingly a band I should like on paper. I want to see if I can get more into them. And if they put out a new record, that would be all the more reason. Beardfish, of course. I know people that love them, but Ben Sinister, pretty high chance they will put out an album, given the fact they put out 6 songs and some of the comments on like Instagram where the songs were shared, talking about their album is in the works. Just listen to the songs. The album should not be too far away. So the only thing I'm not sure about is, are all 6 tracks going to be on the album? Maybe they won't. In some ways, I would like them not to be, so they're all new songs or mostly new songs. But the 6 songs, or at least 3 or 4 of them, are so good. I mean, it almost would be unfair if they don't. Let's see, Bentley again. I like the Bentley, but Ben Levin left, so I don't have a lot of expectations for Bentley. But if it comes out, I guess I won't avoid it entirely. I'll definitely listen to it. But Ben Levin's gone, and the last 2 records have been like the hyperpop stuff. Didn't do a lot for me, unfortunately. That other Brian Scary record, so there's 2, of course. Um, Capital Cities with they've done put on some singles with Spencer Ludwig. Although I don't know if it's like Capital Cities with Spencer Ludwig, or the kind of synthy pop, like sort of soul pop of sorts, very catchy pop music. Um, their last record I love from 2018, and the debut album, Tidal Wave of Mystery, was really good. I mean, that's arguably the 2 of the better of the 2, but yeah, I mean, if it's Capital Cities comes out, my wife loves them, I love them. I'll be listening to it a lot, very likely. Crimson Glory, I mean, Nick Cave, I know people love them. I'm not much of a fan, but Crimson Glory, that's just because they just posted a trailer, so, and the new singer sounds a lot like Midnight, but I'm more of a Midnight era Crimson Glory fan, but it's a comeback. So Dirty Loops, I've been checking them out the last few weeks thanks to my friend Annie. It's great. It's kind of very happy music. I'm going to do a video separately on them, but um, I'll be listening to it for sure. Annie will not let me avoid doing it. But yeah, that sort of jazz pop, that unbelievable musicianship jazz pop from the trio. I don't know if they're going to have Corey Wong involved or not, but like he was on their last record. Um, Dream Theater might be this year, might be. So they're talking about maybe early next year, just because Portnoy literally just rejoined the band the last few months. But I actually, as a selfish Dream Theater fan, wanting them to make the best record possible, would like them to wait and have it come out in 25. But because that would mean they're probably spending a lot of time and demoing, maybe even, if not working with a producer. Formal Horse, yeah, I like their last couple records. Their first record and the one that came out was like 21, I think. I think it was 21. Yeah. So that sort of heavy prog from the UK. I'll definitely be paying attention to it. Let's see here. Never Ending White Lights, Act 4. They say that every year. Nasir Malik from Eldrin. If we're getting an Eldrin record or that, he put out a couple singles and he had like a Kickstarter campaign that was successful. So, or GoFundMe, I can't remember which one. So, I would think something could be coming either from him or Eldrin next year or the next couple of years, maybe even a new song. Um, but yeah, the Never Ending White Lights thing is just like an every year thing. It's like, we're gonna get Act 4, get a new song, Daniel. But it's on the list. But Matt Page, that EP came out, so I know there's more that could be coming from Dream the Electric Sleep. But I haven't even heard the EP, unfortunately. I'm guilty of that. Pepe Deluxe is a big deal as much because I love them. Phantom Cabinet Volume 1 came out. Their album, I'm like 98% certain will come out, even though they're perfectionists and they've waited a long time between albums, because they posted on social media that they've mixed it, and there's like an EP coming, members of the new EP and some others, and so they're going to put out some songs early in the year. So in the next couple months, we'll be getting more information. I'll have to report more on that on these series of videos. Proto Men, I don't know what the story is on them. I don't follow them religiously, but I know people that love them. The conceptual rock opera stuff, kind of like the Deer Hunter. Futurism Revolution, sounds like there's a good chance they will put out a new record next year. I just hope that Chloe Elper is still involved, but because I know she's been so busy with James. But yeah, I mean, their last record was heavier than I was probably to my liking. I still liked a lot of it because I love them. But the Eupney, I think, was better. But we'll see. Another part of Radical Face's new series, I haven't spent enough time even with the EP that came out. It was more narrative, but it's becoming very, very much like the River Empires. But I want to keep tabs on it, of course. Run Rivers keeps on releasing songs. I don't know if he's up for releasing albums, but Run Rivers, former singer of Stateless, and of course, He sang on both of the Vonavi records. Savatage Curtain Call is a big deal. If it does happen, it'd be the last Savatage album probably, pending the health of John Oliva, and was expected to come out in April. But I don't know. We'll see. I don't. I just. I'm arm's length kind of keeping tabs on Savatage. I'm a historic Savatage fan for like 25 plus years. So anything they put out, the last album was came out in like 2000 or 2001. I think it was 2001. Poets and Madmen. So I need to get that on vinyl. Self is a really big deal. Matt Mahaffey. He's done music for soundtracks. He even did some acting. But he's written some music and recorded some new music of his own for Self. We haven't had anything since 2014, 2015, so it's been 7, 8 years. It's not a matter of if, just when. But I was thinking it was this past year, so hopefully 2024 is the year. If not, 2025. Subterranean Masquerade, they've been really prolific. Tomer Pink and everything, the sort of progressive, what do you call it? Death rock. Well, it's more like chamber rock. If we don't get new Orphan Land, we'll get their new record at least. They'd be kind of consistent. They sound more like Green Carnation and Orphan Land than their previous sound, but I still really like it. So, Textures just made a comeback, so they're on the anticipation list. I loved the last one. I loved Phenotype, and I don't really mind if they sound like Gent because they were doing Gent before the other bands. The only band that did before them was Meshuggah. That they don't use it too much. I remember it was like the right mix. Thank You Scientist is on the list. I don't know if, because since they lost their singer, if that's going to happen. The Bird and the Bee, big deal with my wife, for my wife especially. Yeah, it's been a long time. I hope it's not another covers record though. While I didn't mind their Van Halen covers and the Hall & Oates covers, it'd be nice to get some original music from them. The Reign of Kindo, Wither and Bloom, possibly the title. And if it comes out, there's at least a reasonable chance it will be a double album. Part of the Patreon. I've talked to Joey in some of the chats the last few months. But that's a really, really massive deal for myself, for like people like Matt O'Leary and Nathan on Shuffle and the prog scene. We need a new Reign of Kindo record. I mean, I think there's a better chance that comes out for some reason rather than the new Dredge album, if the Dredge album comes out. Toehider, we've got these other EPs that he released in 2023 that haven't been released publicly. We have like 8 of them or something like that, 7 or 8 of them, maybe 7 of them. I think he put out, yeah, I think 7, because he put out 5. But then I don't know if he's going to put out, based on the way he works, either this year or maybe in 25, we'll probably see another record from him, something really ambitious. I don't know. He's doing a lot with Patreon and this whole thing with the EP thing. Maybe he'll continue to do that again. Vennart is going to be putting out a new album in the next few months. So that part of like February, March, April probably will have the new Vennart record, which I'm a huge fan of his. I'll admit that I didn't listen to Empire State Bastard much, but I love him. I love Oceanside, British Theater. I don't know what the story is on British Theater, but his last solo record, Dead in the Deadwood, or whatever it's called, in the Deadwood, was really good, and he hasn't released a bad record, so really optimistic about that at the point it comes out. The Warning, I don't know what it's going to be called, but they've recorded some songs. Hopefully it comes out this year. They've been doing a lot of time in the studio, and they're trying to follow up with Air from 2022. If it doesn't come out this year, I would assume it would be by next year, but probably this year. But I'm going to be hearing about it because I hear about it from my coworker all the time who's on the Patreon, and the 3 girls from Monterrey, Mexico, who do this really cool, energetic style of hard rock they're a young band up and coming. They've just gotten better and better because Air was great. Their stuff before that's good too, but so there's some other stuff that's sort of in the possibilities. Burst is one band people aren't talking about, and they did their first reunion after like 7 or 8 years, like 7 or 8 years ago. It's like 2018, or it's like 5 years ago. I hope we get a record from them. I don't know what the stats. I don't follow their social media closely enough, but if it does, it's a big deal because I absolutely adore their last record, and especially when they're doing more prog metal and less sort of, punkish kind of stuff. But the progressive doom metal, progressive sludge metal, really, because Lazarus Bird is just an absolute classic. They're from Sweden, I believe. Dresden Dolls, they did reunions the last year or two. Might get a record. I don't know if Amanda's got that EP, but Imogen Heat, Pain and Salvation's The Deep End. He's pretty active, Daniel Gilno, on social media. I think there's a good chance, although the way he works, we probably would have heard something soon, so it might might not be out till later in the year, but I don't know. Mass the Phantasm. He's the guy from that band is working on Omar, I think his name is Ghaznavi, the next record. I think I may be a little gun shy to order vinyl after what happened, but and it wasn't his fault, but it was just a shipping thing. But that record from a couple years ago was really good. Was fantastic. New Axial Age. The Tea Party would be a big deal if it comes out, although the last record didn't quite go as far for me. The Tea Club and White Willow, and then of course we have Dredge, which is the number one wish list for me. It's a matter of them being able to have the time and the money, ability to finish recording them, as far as I understand, because they were doing all these things like the Vault and selling more merch and doing anniversary vinyl. So I don't know. I don't know. Dino's active on Instagram, and they're not dead. You know, Drew posts stuff on Twitter every once in a while with some paintings and stuff like that. But I'm hoping one of these days I'm gonna wake up and say, "Yep, new album's coming out. 3 months. This is the name of it. First single's in 3 weeks, and here's the artwork." That would be sort of a birthday wish or a New Year's wish. Carnival's kind of I want to hear something from them, but I'm not nearly as attached. But they keep on getting stuff, and they've played some live shows recently, so that's the sort of extent of the full thing. I think when I do these updates, it will be more news items and then showing the updated calendar. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, of course, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about that I'm not even thinking about. Just thinking like Soundscape or bands that haven't put out albums for a few years. Mew has been doing some shows recently. Who knows if they're gonna put? I mean, it would be the best news would be they'd be recording new music, but also if Bo Madsen rejoined the band. I don't know if that's ever gonna happen. Um, there's any band in the last few years that I'm not even thinking about. Plus, there's the stuff from Kevin Gilbert's estate. There's the Band on the Run release with McCartney. Yeah, the Kevin Gilbert estate's going to release some more archives, and then eventually we'll get the multi-disc Shaming of the True. So, but I guess that's about it. But thank you for watching. I will say that if I do these, I'm going to maybe try to plan to do them maybe with Christian. We could sort of bounce each other off some of the stuff that details about these releases that we don't know about or that we might have heard that the other didn't know about. But yeah, again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Please give it a like and leave a comment and hit the notification bell just because that helps with YouTube's algorithm. And we'll see you next time.